This week we have been discussing live video jockeying and an interview with Paul D. Miller, who is also known as DJ Spooky. DJ Spooky considers himself as a memory artist, and his work revolves around the social implications of technology and how that reflects throughout the spectrum of culture. We have also been looking at DJ Spooky's essay titled Loops of Perception, Sampling and the Semantic Web, where he discusses memory as a vast playhouse where any sound can be you. In an interview with Carol Becker and Romy Crawford called That Subliminal Kid, DJ Spooky discusses four main themes surrounding his work, which are politics, theory and history, race and identity, software and creativity. When discussing politics, theory and history, he considers himself as a political, which to him means fighting stereotypes and trying to create an environment for a more progressive culture. He says that you can look at culture from different perspectives and uses the examples of the multimillionaire Michael Jordan in comparison to the high art world scene, where one type of culture is based on economics and the other culture is based on an artificial social hierarchy of tastes. This means that hierarchy is socially constructed. He also refers to himself as someone who is theory orientated and someone who is actionary rather than reactionary. DJ Spooky then goes on to discuss race and identity through talking about the essay titled The New White Negro and how it deals with the relationship between black and white Americans as one of the intense psychological projections on both sides, where one lives through the eyes of the other. He then explains that America has an unhealthy amnesia about its racial history. By this, DJ Spooky suggests that the American nation often forgets its long history of racial issues and the importance of racial identity. Next, DJ Spooky talks about software. He says that knowledge of technology is essential for modern day artists. If you know how to use software, video equipment or turntables, it gives you great privileges in the production process. Lastly, in the interview, he discusses the concept of creativity. He says that art is an expression of feelings where being creative with music helps people to define their identities, and each music generation allows these identities to form. For DJ Spooky, art can be sound, sculpture, painting, the data bank and the archive. He likes to experiment with music through the process of improvisation. Improvisation is the key to real knowledge, he says, because you generate new information. The difference is that knowledge is action and information is more static, fixed and stable, whereas knowledge can be fluid. DJ Spooky also wrote an essay called Loops of Perception, Sampling, Memory and the Semantic Web, where he discusses the trouble defining the process of sampling. He wanted to establish a short-term description, but phrases such as collective ownership, systems of memory, and database logic never seemed to work. DJ Spooky starts by talking about ways of thinking, and how the process of thinking is like a kind of mini-mediation, where each scenario has a different rhythm. The process of thought then becomes an abstract machine made to search in the right place for the right codes. Thinking is therefore a complex process. He devises the concept of the perceptual illusion, similar to the mind-brain interface where each human act and expression needs to be translated into some kind of information for other people to understand. DJ Spooky explains how media conditions our minds and that expression becomes a stream unit of value when recorded, adapted, remixed and uploaded. Language becomes a form of expression that is shared amongst people, such as a prayer or a mantra, and becomes a speaking code. Perceptions and memories are conditioned by your thought process and echo texts that you are familiar with when you think. DJ Spooky explains that we live in a time period whereby quotation and sampling operate on such a deep level that the archaeology of what can be called knowledge floats in a questionable realm between perceptions of reality and unreality. I found it interesting how he uses the Matrix as a parable for Plato's cave to describe the idea of living in the world of illusion. The Matrix is a 1999 film that depicted the difference between the real world and the dream world. The film is loosely based on the allegory of The Cave by Plato, who believed the world is not real but an illusion. Plato wrote a story to express the notion of illusion, which reflects DJ Spooky's ideas of knowledge being perceived as real or unreal. The story was about people being chained inside a cave, where they could only see shadows and not the real thing. They were conditioned to believe shadows were reality in a similar way that DJ Spooky explains how our memory conditions our thought process to construct our perceptions of reality. Because the prisoners in the cave were subjected to a single perspective, their perception of reality was fragmented. In reality, people must see from broader perspectives to have a more accurate understanding of the world. These single perspectives almost mirror the notion of a sampling. The prisoners were only exposed to tiny samples of reality, and their perception of what is real was fragmented. Fragmentation is a key concept for DJ Spooky's ideas. In a similar narrative to The Matrix and Plato's Cave, I thought of how the virtual world could be seen as reflective of the real world, and how fragments of reality are stored online, creating a sense of illusion. For example, when people upload things on Facebook, the content is only small fragments of a person's life. People tend to post positive things on Facebook to create a selective identity of themselves, and tend not to post about negative personal things. The fragmentations of people's lives shared on Facebook reflects DJ Spooky's ideas of illusion, because you can never really know a person by looking at how they represent themselves on Facebook. Facebook can therefore be seen as unreality, a reflection of a real person, similar to how the prisoners saw a shadow of a tree, and they were ignorant towards what a tree actually looks like. DJ Spooky then talks about Theodore Adorno, who wrote an essay about how classical music was being recorded instead of performed live, which caused a small amount of time for music to be absorbed, resulting in a soundbite mentality. DJ culture, as a kind of archival impulse, reminds us of the mind-brain interface, but this time around becomes an emergent system of large-scale economies of expression. This means that DJs only use certain samples in their music to create personal expression, and therefore doesn't absorb the original track, and therefore reinforces the idea of this soundbite mentality, which translates as a way of thinking through using short extracts in order to permeate precise expression. DJ Spooky uses the expansion of the World Wide Web and the difficulties in obtaining efficient information to explain the loop of perception. The loop of perception is a relentless hall of mirrors in the mind. So because the web, and more specifically search engines such as Google, come up with fragments of results from countless sources, it confuses reality. In a similar way to how you tell a story, your brain selects some information from your memory, and one story becomes made up of many fragmented memories, which confuses our perceptions of reality. Moving memories therefore become a form of remix. The complex becomes multiplex, and the multiplex then becomes omniplex. In the next section of the essay, DJ Spooky looks at how search engines have taken a greater role in web expansion. In today's society, people need to access information quickly, and do this by using search engines such as Google. However, because there is so much information on the internet, search engines bring back conflicting results from a range of sources. I have noticed this myself on Google Images. Sometimes you can type something in, and the results can be totally irrelevant to what you're trying to search for. This is due to the use of meta tags. DJ Spooky would refer to Google as semantic web, which is a remix of all available information, and the result is an immense repository, an archive of almost anything that has ever been recorded online. The semantic web holds contemporary culture together and becomes what DJ Spooky refers to as archive fervour, which is a passionate source of historical information. Because of the diversity of information in search engines, it questions the reliability of web pages, similar to how I discussed the reliability of the search engine Wikipedia in last week's vlog. The World Wide Web combines aspects of artificial intelligence and knowledge representation. The online process is therefore often referred to as collaborative filtering. The key points about DJ Spooky's ideas are that, similar to search engine filters, DJ sampling filters music when mixing songs. DJ Spooky uses the concept of fragmentation and sampling to explore the perception of reality. He does this by reminding us that the World Wide Web can be unreliable as it is selective and does not necessarily reflect accurate perceptions of the world.